Is this going to lead to Vicki Butler Henderson again?
Oh, Vicki.
So I think I'll call it Sabine.
Yeah, I think that's
My first
nice.
female car.
So in my head, I'm always going to call it your ring taxi.
A really, really in-depth, hardcore, anal.
Don't stop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pro Detailer podcast. We have got a very special show for you today. Not only are we on a different location, so the sound quality is not as good as normal, but to make up for that, we have a star celebrity guest. So, first of all, I shall introduce you to the old favourites. We've got James of Keeley.
Hello.
We have Ian of Seeley.
I mean, I'm not taking any offence to not being the star and everything. That's fine.
Yeah, no, well, yeah.
I mean, he's a celebrity in Swindon.
He is a celebrity in Swindon, but
I'm
not
notorious.
not under his real name.
And don't forget his tourist board work for Coventry.
That is true. That is true. He's done a great job there. I mean, I almost want to go to Coventry now.
To be fair, this is the only time I come to Swindon when I come down to Bert.
Oh, it was a third, wasn't it?
We're not in Swindon. Anyway, moving on.
My mic. Sorry for the weird
Yeah,
noises.
he's adjusting himself. We are joined here in Wiltshire by none other than Mr. Kelly of Harris. Say hello, Kelly.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a lovely journey down here.
It was lovely,
countryside.
wet, windy,
Well, yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
But you made
Have
it.
we told him that he's going to have to sail back on a boat yet?
Well, the phone call that I had missed was actually from Floodline because we're in the valley, so we actually have to get these notifications, and it's saying that there's a danger of a torrent because they're going to have to open the weir to protect Swindon.
It's always wet this way, isn't it? In West, always wet.
It's when the waves lap against the door of the office here that we have to start panicking.
Because the river is just there, so we've got the M4 and the river. It's joyous, but
And an otter.
and an otter, my favourite
The
otter.
otter.
That's it's all fun.
The new famous feature of the podcast, Bert's Otter.
Which only I've seen.
When you say they're closing the weir to protect Swindon, you saw them to say cleanse.
No,
They cleanse the
they,
entire town.
they flood both Siren and here just to protect
Swindon
just to
Town
protect
Legal
Swindon.
Department are on alert again.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. They're probably local.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So today we are going to have a sort of a similar structure to normal, but we're going to reproportion things so that we can talk to Kelly lots. And we're going to kick off with a little bit of news. So James and Ian, yesterday you ventured with Little Richard over to Gtechniq in Northampton.
Yeah.
Put the booster seat in the Skoda.
Yep. Yep. Could he see out? Was he all right with it?
Yeah, his feet kept kicking the glove box though, so he got a telling off.
Keep squirting them with water.
But yeah, we jumped on the many A roads.
Completely missed 3 McDonald's on the way up, so
Yep.
There's good roundabout action there, and then Gtechniq have now got their own motorway junction off the M1,
yeah.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, last time we had to go in through the industrial gates at the side. Now they've literally got the line down to the Greggs.
Oh,
Back up again.
Oh, yes,
okay.
yes. Most important news, they've got their own Greggs and Subway.
That's pretty cool. I hear.
Starbucks.
And
And
They have a Starbucks there as well.
Well, I hear that Northamptonshire might actually be renamed. Just the whole place just might be renamed to
I think
Gtechniq.
we actually went through the village that the Rob lives in. There were many large houses that we couldn't see from the road, and I mean, I just assume that's mostly his.
Helicopters abandoned outside Tesco Express.
Piles of Bermuda shorts at the side of the road. That's what they.
Private jet behind the spa.
Oh,
Yeah.
You'd obviously realise as well they've got an extra building. Or do you?
Yes,
yes, they've built another building.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's we had the joy of spending most of the day in their terrible holding facility upstairs.
You mean
It
the
was awful.
attic chill out room, which has
Oh, it
got
was terrible. We only managed to get like 10 games of pool in.
It was fabulous. The first time I played pool in years because we haven't been able to go to a pub. It's been years since COVID started, hasn't it?
it's over a year.
Yeah.
It's not technically years. I mean,
I'm a bit
feels like
disappointed
much
that the racing sim wasn't set up though.
no, is it because they've got a Scalextric?
Oh, they've got Scalextrics as well, but they actually have a racing. They had a racing sim there at one point. Did you do a time on there, Kelly?
I didn't. No.
No.
Unfortunately,
Didn't want to embarrass everyone. It's fine.
I do it more serious and geeky stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to topple the top name on that score sheet, but
but
Alas, it was not there.
When you actually go in that facility and you walk upstairs and you actually take in what's there, like the engine has a coffee table.
Yeah.
There's a serious lot
Mastermind
of...
prop shaft, all those bits.
There's so much effort and time and forethought and money being put into some sort of boys' room, really.
No, it's really cool. Really cool.
What's in the room just off of it? Is that like a testy room?
Yes,
because there were machines going there all day, and I couldn't figure out they got a car through the door.
That's test lab, like swipe, where I can't say too much, but yeah, there's equipment in there and many products being tested.
Yeah, I had my ear to the window, but I had the music on very, very loud deliberately. So.
I managed to bounce the white ball off the wall at one point, so I always disturbed them a little bit.
But yeah, it was a wicked day out. It's great to go over there.
Thanks to Adam for his time.
Adam was very hospitable. We did our IDA SV for the Academy. So I think we passed. Did we pass?
Apparently, according to Facebook, we did.
Oh, Facebook tells us we passed.
I did see the results, and I saw some very forced smiles. Ian doesn't naturally smile ever, but the picture of you by the sign, Rich looks like a small child.
He did have Greg's for lunch, so it could have been gas.
He was.
Have you ever seen How to Train Your Dragon? I smile like Toothless. Not sure how the muscles work. You have to do it manually sometimes.
It did look like, yes. And actually, James, you looked the most natural in your photo. It looked like you're sort of almost taking a photo on some Hollywood Boulevard next to the stars or something.
Had a bit of blue steel going.
There was blue steel, that one, yeah.
Yeah, no, how many takes did you do that in?
It's just a single, but I'm a professional.
Less than it took to pass the test.
Come on. You've taken my photo for the mag before.
I have. I've taken some photos where you look... I can't think of a word that we can use on a podcast.
Threatening.
No, there's one where you look particularly effeminate, where you kind of... Oh, there's that one where you're looking around.
Over my shoulder?
Yes.
Coquettish.
That's my profile pose.
That's your Zoolander. Zoolander look.
That's it. But it was a great day out.
Which is unusual for Northampton.
It is unusual. Again, Ian's adding those towns to his list of offending towns.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be able to travel. Damn.
But yeah, it was a good day. Got it done.
Because you actually touch machines in the SV, don't you? Whereas in the PVD one, there's no machine touching.
In a very fancy, dry, lit wash bay, they had a warm jet wash. I was in my element.
It's like a B-day, but stronger.
Yeah. So yeah, we did the wash process. Went inside, did some machine polishing, and then interior stuff. I was shown lots of flashcards of wheels.
Oh, okay.
To pick out the things to be worried about on the wheels and stuff. But yeah, it's good.
I thought they were like the psychiatrist test they hold up for you. Like, can you see my mother telling me I'm not right?
Yes,
it was a Honda wheel.
My dad's disappointment.
What did you think of the facility? Because the lighting's different, isn't it?
It's fabulous.
Yeah,
I think.
it's very different.
Do you know how much they spent to put that together, roughly?
I don't
Any
actually.
ideas?
No, I actually don't. No.
Yeah, it's
I was asked advice on certain items, what to purchase, but I don't know.
That massive light board they've got in the middle of the room.
It's a light box.
Yeah.
A big light box, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite funny with workshop lighting though. I kind of still feel
I don't
myself.
prefer that. I actually prefer other style lighting.
I find myself always reverting back to wanting halogens.
Well, what do we think of all these hex lighting? That's very. I mean, Kelly, your workshop has got more lights than anything. You come out there just sort of buzzing at 60 hertz.
Last count, I think it's 250 individual remote control lights, and each bank is on a maximum of 12.
Yeah,
and I think I've got 5 remotes upstairs, 4 banks of 12, and then so you get the idea of how many.
Well, you spend most of the time just wandering around with the remote controls flashing at things, don't you?
That.
I mean, flashing the remote control, obviously.
There is a reason for all those lights, obviously. They're not just to make it bright.
Well, so I can take photos of you. I mean, we did a lot, and uplifts, it's great. I can take 5 years off you. It brings you back down to 28.
So I put them lights in about 4 or 5 years ago, and it took me a lot of forethought to think what type of light, and I was trying to choose one light, hence what I just said about a light box doesn't always work because it's one light source. And it was just literally, I could find a reason why I wanted, like James just said, I'm going to call it LED lights, it's a round spotlight, but then I could also, I've got LEDs, I've got a bar strip so that they diffuse but give me a spotlight but not a straight edge. Then I've got LED lights that are straight edge lights because that shows orange peel. and a surface wobble, then they don't show swells and sandy marks. So I've ended up with 4 different light sources, but 5 in total because I've got portable lights. Because sometimes you want to move a light around to see shadows and angles. And then it was like, well, I've got that many lights, I can't just go around and plug sockets. So then it was like, right, let's put them on remote so we can pick and choose. For the day that we did, it was almost an overview. It's just like put them all on, just so I make it bright as possible.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason for all of them. And when I'm on my own working, we know which lights are turned on and off for what reason. And so I couldn't work with one light source really now. But it's weird because if I then go back when I was in that workshop and when it was daytime, I'd have a halogen light. And then I moved up to metal halide lights. Then from that to LED. And going on and on. Then it's like, well, I want LED, but I want different types of shape, which I'll come to the hexagon in a minute. But I don't mean the shape of the hexagon. I want a round cluster to make a round spotlight to look for swells, or a straight long line which shows wave of orange peel and, as you've seen there, sinkage texture in.
Oh, we had a long. We'll get onto that in due course. But we talked all about sinkage yesterday.
So a hexagon light does the same thing because you've got a straight edge. It's just that it's pretty looking.
They are very cool.
When you stand 10 foot, 15 foot away from the car and take a photo, it looks pretty and it makes a nice looking image.
Well, the nice thing is you don't actually need to polish or detail the car at all.
Well,
you just put it in there, take a photo, boom, put it on Instagram.
Square lights do, and that's why I think I showed you on a day that we've got square lights, like the lights all said, flat lights, but we haven't put them next to each other. We've left them with a square, similar space between, so that you've got a straight edge still. Because when you look at a car reflection or the surface in the middle of a big light, all you've got is white. You can't see any defects, so your eye needs to look at a boundary.
You need contrast.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a digital camera. The autofocus works by a point of contrast, and that's why when you're snapping a quick photo, you have to immediately look for something that's in the vicinity, which has got contrast on it. So, just pulling it back to the trip to Gtechniq, you've done the SVs. So you've got 4 letters after your names.
We've got 4, but we're hoping for 6.
You're hoping for 6. You're going for the full RT.
I hope so, yeah. Mainly because, our involvement with PVD over the years, we're always looking to sort of help improve the industry. It's not really about sort of improving ourselves, even though we always try to. We're trying to sort of give back. When I first started in the industry, I was kind of alone, so to speak, with regards to sort of experience and training. Had to build it up really slowly over the years, but the marvel of the internet and contacts and the network, it's great to sort of be able to offer these people starting out a bit more advice.
Well, that's an interesting thing because the internet, Kelly, one thing which I've never seen in a training session. Well, no, at school, do you remember how it used to be put in front, usually on a Friday afternoon, in front of a VHS, and it would normally be Attenborough sitting in a forest saying, look at this frog, don't eat it. With Kelly, you've got quite a lot of unpublished videos of sort of hiding away on your YouTube. And then when we were having our pizza, Wednesday, I keep saying yesterday, and plonked us in front of this video of a red Porsche, which was an interesting one, and various other videos of bits and bobs, and a Bentley as well was involved with a bit of sanding. And there is much more. I mean, James, you started in 2003, 4? When did you start touching cars inappropriately?
First paid job was 2001.
2001. So
late 2000.
Well, you were still on. I mean, I guess was broadband a thing then, or you were still on dial-up?
Well, it was, but it wasn't
for the man on the street.
Accessible.
Yeah. So to have to start detailing when there isn't any of that resource to now, the guys nowadays are so lucky.
Well, don't forget that in 2000, for me, because the internet wasn't really a thing on my agenda, I didn't even know about detailing. So I just started out as what I thought was a valeter, and just gradually worked to be a better valeter, or be the best valeter that I could. And in probably 2003, bumped into a detailer, and it was the first I'd really sort of.
It was like we need the music, the angel music come out, because Kelly had a very similar experience in that he was you're actually fixing cars, and that's another comparative for James because he also fixes cars. But the
does he?
Yeah.
I'll have you know that I definitely helped fix your MG.
You undid one bolt for me.
It was the bolt that was stopping the job.
So what you're saying is you're an MG mechanic and you'll take all work going for.
Ooh.
Awkward.
No.
Yeah. Have you put the exhaust on your? That's car news later. Anyway.
Yeah, that's car news later. You fix the roof and you... No, never mind. And this is just... Is that Kelly said it was actually when you watched telly, a client of yours told you, hey, turn on the TV, and it was fifth gear?
Yes. Yeah.
Fifth gear, and it was Mr...
£5,000 car wash.
With Mr. PD. Yeah. And it was then that you kind of conceived these things. And it's interesting how, because you were both there at the very kind of beginning of these things, how it's evolved.
I'm 50 now, and I was sanding and polishing cars when I was 18. Mm-hmm. So it's over 30 years ago.
When did colour come in?
I'm not that old. And I actually was polishing solid colour, and then I was involved in body shops when it transitioned to clear coat, 2-stage. Mm-hmm. So it's been around, and I have got involved with cellulose occasionally because my father used to do that. And I probably 10 years, 15 years of painting, sanding, polishing, and it was like normal. All body shops sand and polish after they've painted because there's dirt, runs, sands, whatever you want to call it, in the paint to try and make it better. And it was almost a completely normal service. So I was doing that for years. And obviously you have to then clean a car and polish a car and wax a car at the end and coat the wheels. Back then it was like super resin polish or whatever. You had turtle wax. And I was doing that for years and years as a hobby, and then building my own cars from bare metal sort of restoration sort of work. And it was actually an alloy wheel reverber across the road that said to me and a client, but this is two different
also
times.
in Swindon.
They're not now. They're not now. They were.
They were at the time.
So I dropped a car off that night and literally to the customer's house, and then my wife took me home, and he messaged me saying, "Quick, fifth gear," and I saw this £5,000 car wash, literally spitting feathers because I'm thinking, how can someone earn, believing it's completely real? Not that I don't know if it is or isn't, but I was like, it's £5,000 just to wash a car, and I've just spent a week sanding and polishing a car at a lot less cost because that's what a body shop value it's at. And it was like, anyway, that's is that real? But I was intrigued because I was like, £40 for a bucket or whatever it was, and shampoo. I was thinking, oh my God, because we're using body shop trade stuff where you get 10 gallons for £3 or cheap wax. Go back to work the next day, and the alloy wheel company goes, "Did you see you last night on fifth gear?" I was like, "Oh, not you as well." Then a client next week, and it was like, well, this has captured people's imagination, or it's captured an audience, isn't it? And that was the first time I heard it called detailing. And then a client come in and said, "Have you heard of Detailing World?" And I was like, "What's that? What's a forum?" 38.
What's the internet?
Yeah, well, no, I was 38 then when this is happening, about 37, 38, and I hadn't ever use a laptop or PC. I really am like a man out of a cave of spanners. And I was like...
I've been called a spanner before.
So I had to learn, and I was going on this social media and really understand the platform, and of course, the rest is history of Detailing World, of how I went on there. And I was posting up work that was loads of body shop people were doing all the time, and I'm like, why is everyone going, wow, this is amazing? Because you've got people on there that are valeting, and I've come along showing a car completely sanded down, which is normal to me, and normal to loads of body shops. And it was like, wow, this is amazing. Of course, it's quite normal now.
So would you argue that detailing has kind of emerged from body shop trade rather than from valeting getting more involved?
I think it's both.
Okay, there's kind of in the middle.
It's the child of both of them.
It's both.
And you've got the sort of Americanism that's been stuffed in the middle of it.
That's true with the phraseology of it.
Yeah, because we've sort of... we've been cleaning cars professionally since cars existed, pretty much.
Well, I watched a Pathé video on the 1950s, and it seemed...
It's on to Pathé News again.
Yeah, I love Pathé News.
Are you sponsored?
No, I wish. I know that my cousin was...
He has a Pathé OnlyFans page.
Well, but do you remember we were doing the history of paint, and it was do you remember the...
Sorry, I just got your joke there, Ian. So that was a funny one.
Which one?
Oh, the Pathé News and the OnlyFans.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, no, the last joke before that was 2016. That was quite funny.
The last one you got?
Yeah.
So anyway, when we were doing the article on the history of paint, we were talking about the Model Ts that were painted in that
Japan
black. And even back then, the dealer would repaint the car with a brush.
Yeah.
If it was looking tatty. So from then onwards, we've kind of been maintaining the appearance.
We've got rollers now.
Yeah, which is roller click.
I've worked on cars that have classic, very old cars where I saw my dad's staff brush it on, and I was like, what the hell? And then you sand it back, brush it on, sand it back, and then the finish at the end is perfect.
Yeah.
If you've got the right material to be able to do that, and you know what you're doing, you sand it flat and polish it, it will be lovely sprayed.
So I think the sort of it was sort of the Hollywood side of it, wasn't it? Because once we started getting the internet, suddenly it was sort of seeing what the Americans are doing, and we've been doing the same thing for years. But it was the sort of glamour that they started adding to it, and then like you say, detailing world, those sort of forums.
I wonder who the first detailer was in the world.
The first detail. Well, it would have just been somebody cleaning cars in America.
No, but the one who called themselves the first person who identified as a detailer. Self-identified as a detailer.
Did you just try to define my category?
Yes. I don't know, it's a weird one, because we had this conversation about Germany, and if you say detailer, that could be the guy brush washing your M3 at BMW, or it could be
it's the same in America.
Maritz at Autolakaffen. They're both the same title.
Yeah, and in America, you get these detail centres, and it's a tunnel car wash. So it's the whole phraseology. I mean, we don't want to get into a phraseology of history of it and all the rest of it.
Car care, there you go.
Yeah, car care, there we go. Boom.
That
Professional
kind of
car care.
Encapsulates everything. Body shops, wheel refurbers, us lot.
Yeah.
Like you said about Germany, when I spoke to a lot of American detailers was in America, what they were describing to me,
Best place to find them.
I wouldn't call it a detail what they're offering, but they're calling it a detail, and the customers know it's a detail, so it's a detail.
Yeah, and that of course valet means something completely different.
Well, it was when I first started doing machine polishing for trade cars as a kid. Sort of 18 years old. It was a bucket of G3, a freckle of G-Mop, and some horrific single or two-speed Bosch like this. And you were just a valeter that could also buff cars. You weren't then, because we have this conversation about what makes a detailer, and it always boils down to, whether they do machining or not. Well, that's nonsense, because valeters were machine polishing
A long
30,
time ago.
40 years ago. So I think that it only really... I don't want to blame the internet, but I certainly think that publicity sort of developed it into what we've got.
It evolved. Marketing department.
If it wasn't for the internet and detailing well as a forum, I wouldn't be doing to the level I'd carry out services now. I wouldn't have bettered myself as much.
No, that's true. It's definitely been good for the industry, without a doubt. That exposure on TV was a turning point, and then we had the articles in the newspaper about the other $5,000 car wash.
Because there were two on Fifth Gear. There was Paul Townsend and Paul Dalton.
7,000 or 7,501, which was in a garage at home. I won't say.
Yeah.
As a detailer, and it went up and up. Which
yes,
do you remember this?
I do.
So it was the guy that was using a microscope, wasn't he, on the paintwork?
And the one we worked out was being paid about £4 an hour or something for the number of hours.
Well, that was it. Yeah, we did the maths on it, and it worked out that the hours that he spent and the money that he charged, he was actually only earning about £12 an hour.
If you want to get geeky, I know in that footage that the positector he's using, when it flashes red, as I said the other day, he's not actually reading the right value, and the value he got is impossible, and wouldn't know how to interpret it. But it's and I knew that from as soon as I saw it, but I'm not going to call anyone out on it. But more importantly, is it gives people hope. It might be slightly a false, but then you would notice I actually got involved with Discovery TV. They approached me, a media company, to do and done quite a few test pilots. And this is back when I was very, very shy and really didn't like a camera. So I found it awkward, but they come to my building, did a couple of hours, and I had to go off and do like a Dragon's Den thing. It was all signed disclosures that you can air this. And it opened my eyes, because everything I was interviewed on and said, they cut, can you triple it? Can you exaggerate?
Yeah.
And then I suddenly realised you can't blame the person on the camera, because they might actually be quite a nice normal person.
Being manipulated.
Yeah.
Well, it's entertainment, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, Mike Brewer's a fine example, because I can't stand him on telly, but I've met plenty of people that have met him in person.
Well, I met him in person. He's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
My work experience was basically buying chips from Mike Brewer on the set of Channel 4 Driven, and he was brilliant. He ate a lot of chips.
Is this going to lead to Vicki Butler Henderson again?
Oh, Vicky. I rode round Anglesey Race
Let me tell you a story.
in an LRJ2 with Vicki Butler Henderson.
We'll end the story there.
Okay.
because we've heard the rest, but nobody else needs to.
Nobody else wants to.
And there's still a court case outstanding. So
That's true, but it's fine. Because the other thing actually that reminds me, news-wise, we're talking about the telebox, is shout out to Kat for appearing on the Top Gear online video, which was
the clean team.
The clean team, and you were actually saying, Kelly, how they kind of make you be larger than life. Well, the thing is, Cav already is pretty much larger than life already. So
yeah, but he did say that he gets into character.
Yeah,
because we went there and he again, really nice guy, just draws people in when you watch his videos.
Not in a Predator kind of way.
But he said to you, I'll have to get myself in the sort of mode to do it, and it is quite a.
He turns it on, he dances, and he shakes around, he makes noises, he sings along to things. It's very odd. Very odd.
I'm glad you said it's odd, because the amount of people that have said his name all the time to me is amazing. He's amazing. What a guy. And I'm thinking, recently saw one of his videos, watched another one, got drawn in, and ended up watching about 20.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm watching them thinking, why? Because of being a bit old. Maybe a bit miserable, a bit cynical. I'm a bit more geeky, engineer-y type person. I totally get why it's going to captivate an audience and it's going to work.
Yeah,
it's just not my TV. It's not my style.
Watched about 10 of them.
Exactly what I was about to say. There's something there. I'm thinking, I've got to stop watching this.
Is it morbid curiosity? Or is it just
and I'm thinking, what? And I was more fascinated with the production of the move to the music and then making videos myself. I really get that he's got a very natural gift, a very natural talent.
He's a performer. He's actually got a degree in, is it marketing? I can't remember. PJ told me.
Oh, I'm not sure.
It's really confusing. I've named my new car TJ, and obviously there's PJ. So apologies in advance if I accidentally mistake Subaru for a Nordic legend.
But the problem is with what he done there, I actually now want to watch him, and I didn't really take notice of the products in the video. You can actually be more of a limelight than their product.
Yeah, there is that.
Can you buy Cav?
In a
buy shares in non-fungible tokens.
Well, I think a few brands have fallen down that kind of route, though, haven't they? I know the AF guys. Theirs was always about the sort of dolly birds, the pin-up girls, and you kind of lose the products then. Because it's like an advertising campaign, but you've lost the products in the
it's
marketing, haven't you?
Yeah, there's actually a bit of somebody put up some pictures. I can't remember which business it was, which brand it was, using a pretty young lady to sell products, and it was remarkable how things have changed. Because in the old days of AF, that was the thing, and somebody put up these photos, and they were, you're using sex to sell car products, and they were getting all stroppy about it, and I was like,
especially if it's like clay lube.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, you'll get called out regardless of what you do in this industry.
Yeah,
it's quite vicious, isn't it?
Well, and you can always counter it. And, with Lake Country hiring Kelly, they could say they're trying to appeal to a female market.
It's true.
Really?
Well, you could say that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily true, but and detailing is big in the blind market.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, we have already met once this week, haven't we?
We did.
And I dragged
Did you bother to come back a second time?
And actually in the same week.
Yeah. On Wednesday this week, today being Friday, we PVD pretty much invaded your lovely training centre.
Yes.
And you very kindly did a day of essentially advanced machine polishing tips, tricks, kind of crash course, but at a high level because they're all professionals. And it was absolutely brilliant. How did you find the day?
It's always a blur for me, any sort of day like that, because you just got so much going on in your head. You've got different possibly character skill levels. You don't know what they're expecting, so just setting up the day before, then getting everything ready, and then you might have noticed I got a lot more equipment out than we did on the day, because without assessing the people on the day, which I didn't do beforehand, I didn't know their level and I didn't know what they want to see. So all I did is get everything out. Mm-hmm. So whatever they need to see, we can do it. It won't be the same with our syllabuses, which we got released soon. That will actually be a strict certain days you pick and choose. But being a PVD day, it was almost like an overview day, wasn't it? And a bit of fun.
And And it was fun, actually. I mean, you and Martin got on very well.
So it's always a fun event with Martin.
Yeah, Martin is a character.
Every time I've had an open day, group day, whatever you want to call it, even one-to-one, fortunately, people have liked it, enjoyed it, don't want to leave, want to come back for more. And it could be sometimes the characters there, the people, me, and what they've learned. And I think there's more than just learning. It's having a memorable day, a fun day, and trying not to make people look silly because they might not know something. It's like, look, we're always learning. I just try and be down to earth, and I am quite down to earth. I mean, people are mucking around and calling me names. I was joking.
Well, you blew them all, didn't you? I mean, you blew them all away with your angled DA trickery, which was pretty damn stunning.
It's actually really simple, basic physics, really, what's happening there. And it's a myth busting, which has been, unfortunately, a trend that's slowly changing now.
Well, to help you, because I know you wanted to be sort of leading the crusade for this thing, but everybody says, have the pad flat on the paint. Yes. And all the guys there were very much flat on paint. And
you're not implying that a certain brand would physically advise against it, are you?
No. Well, quite the opposite. Yeah. In that Kelly had it at not. What would you say, about 5-10 degree angle, and it changes as you get through your set. And actually angling
this
a DA.
Is advanced. I mean, I'll do it very quickly, but obviously we all know here around this table that compounds diminish or go blunt or reduce, whatever fancy words you want to call it, they wear out,
Smacks and dats.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, but
James taught me that.
So when a compound's the most aggressive, you would rather, if you need to make that compound more aggressive, so it's more advanced, I can make one compound do a lot heavier work than it's designed for by changing the angle, which makes the contact patch smaller, which makes a higher pressure. But tipping, you've now got airflow underneath, which then means it's running cooler than a flat pad. So the burn-in effect or burn-through effect reduces, but you get a quicker cut. Then you've got I showed about you're picking the compound back up all the time.
Yeah, you move the compound around. It was like Paul Daniels, and with just moving. So we had this bonnet, and you put a squirt of compound on your pad, and then
you can place it where you want.
Yeah, and you're just moving it around like some sort of 3 cups where the money is.
That's it. Yeah, and it's not a showman trick. It's actually a factual, as you saw, reason for doing it, and we do it in my building all the time, and it just. And I think the party trick was, you saw me say that I predict that everyone's going to take off 2 microns of clear coat. Yeah. Because we probably need to say we had laser pointer pens and paint thickness gauges, so we was always in the same place. And I didn't take their readings, so it can't be my sleight of hand. It was actually every pupil measured their own paint, took the reading, and I said, right, you're all going to take 2 microns off, and I've never seen them polish. So one might have number 6 on a speed, one might have 2, and I went with that pad, that compound. You do it exactly how you want, which we did. There's 2 microns. Then I basically said tip and press, which stalls the pad, put more compound on, and predict 4 microns. And apart from one that had already done that sort of method the first time round, the other 4, it's like
suddenly got
a magic show. Yeah. It was like, what did you get? 4. What did you get? And they're all like, how have you just done that? Yeah. And I've never helped them once. I just told them what to do.
And they were all using Roop's LHR 15s and the Lake Country microfiber pad.
That's it, correct. With the D300 Maguire's. Oh, it's a HDO microfiber pad.
HDO microfiber pad and a D300, as you say, with the Megs. And with a pink compound. And
so that was slightly confusing. And I think that broke the ice where maybe some people are less receptive to listening because we all think we know what the best, or there's a lot. And then once you break the ice, and they're suddenly like, "How's he just done that?" Then you've got everyone's attention. Then it's like it's very easy for me to then lead because whoever there was like right, and some of the characters that would be quite strong-minded were like the ones going, "Can you come and check this? And can I help?" And I was like, "Of course." So that's when I done then the demo of tipping with really scratch. Yeah. So it's the same amount of compound. Flat pad over a large area, or the same amount of compound over a very small area, tipped. And that's when Martin had the really confused look. How does that even work? Yeah. It's actually really simple, but it's because the industry from a long, long time ago has had this tradition of how to do things, and probably no one's ever challenged it, I'd guess, or practiced or tested.
Well, when the DA machines first became a thing, it was always don't stall the pad, no matter what you do. But once you use them often, you realise that you want to stall the pad in certain circumstances because it will do a different thing.
Yeah.
Likewise, it's a bit different when you're sanding, but there are times where if you're being a bit sort of, if you're really trying to get at something, you will try and stall that pad. So yeah, you get like a different reaction out of the equipment or the polisher. But even then, the manufacturers start sort of drilling that, don't do this, do that, because they're trying to increase the longevity of the machine.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily going to give you the best results. And
you also get Chinese whispers because, he said you have to do that. She said you had to do that.
I mean, James, you would know the 3 pea-size blobs for the amount of compound you put on a pad has always been sort of normal for years. And to try and make people realise if you put more on, you get more cut because there's more product there, is really hard for them to accept because they feel like it must be that. Because years and years ago, that's what someone said. Yeah, now that's the rules.
I've never seen anybody use as much compound as you. I mean, you were spurting it all over the pad, and the pad was
But that's because it's a microfiber pad. And, and the easy way for me to describe it was, you can see they got it. I went, if you bought some sandpaper, a round disc for a DA sander, why would you have just 2 10p size circles on that whole disc, 5-inch disc of cutting media, and the rest plain paper? And you see a sort of look almost again like, this is so obvious. So I said, so why would you put on a microfiber pad, it doesn't really spread, it sucks in. Why would you put such a small amount of compound? You want the whole pad to have compound on it. And the moment they did that, that's when they got double the cut for the same process. So I've gone, so now you've got a new arsenal. You can alter how much compound you use, and that alters the results, not just what pad, what machine, what orbit. There's another variable now, and that's you. And tool manufacturers, pad manufacturers would always say, it's the pad or the tool or the compound. And Mike Phillips said years ago on stage, I was on stage with him, and he was showing sanding by a machine and then sanding all by a machine with different machines and polishing. And someone put the audience put his hand up and said, I like hand sanding. It's quite worryingly, he turned to me because I was helping next to him, and he said, hey, Kelly, I guess, which do you prefer? And of course, politically correct, you'd say machine sanding. And I've gone, hand sanding, thinking he's invited me up on stage to help, and now I'm going to say, in the eyes of the public watching, you're wrong. Yeah. There's no right or wrong here, but I went, hand. And I was really proud because he turned around and went, hey, what you like doing is what I prefer machine. I went, that's fine. And then he actually put his hands in the air and went, I can't sell these. They're hands. So I was actually really humbled that he quite happily admit that he's got to sell machine tools.
Yeah.
It's a product. And so he didn't argue that watch was right. It was just like, you choose.
Yeah.
So, and it was just literally, I can't sell hands.
Well, you're very, it has to be said on Wednesdays that quite often I've been to countless manufacturer days, and a lot of them are, these are the products we do, buy them.
Yeah.
And we've seen through the PVD assessments, people who are doing sort of 3 pre-washes on cars, and you ask them, why are you doing that? And they'll say, I went to a manufacturer training day, and that's what they told me to do. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so why do you think they've done that? And they sort of look at you with a, they can see the cogs going around in their
very
heads.
slowly.
Then they go, those bastards.
In unrelated news, Kelly Harris soon going to be working for a compound company.
Can I just say, everyone's going on about 3 spots. I used to do smiley faces.
Me too. Yeah. Still do. Depends what sort of day it is. Sometimes they're a happy face.
It was on Wednesday. It was interesting. We had 3 spotters, and then we had a crisscrosser.
And a line.
And a line.
I did experiment with pentagrams for a while, but it went a bit weird, and the flames and the brimstone started.
Rich is a Mercedes badge guy.
He is.
He does a Mercedes badge.
When it falls off, it goes rusty.
Yeah. Ends up in Eastern Europe.
He's overpriced in the first place.
Ends up in Eastern Europe, 800,000 miles on it.
But you've got to remember, when it was an advanced day, I'm not going to show people what they already know.
Yeah.
I'm giving them another variable, another option.
That's just it. That's what was really good. And again, a lot of these machine days and stuff like that,
they're always
the same. They start very simple. But what I like is with the PVD one is that we're able to say, right, these guys are doing this day in, day out. So let's start at level 5 and take it to level 7.
But I think people seem to forget that, though. I mean, all of us around here are very much in the sort of ever learning mindset. You know, even no matter how old you are, how long you've been in the industry, there's always something more to learn because everything is always changing. You know, paint types change, machine types change, pad types, polish types. I mean, we've seen in our careers, we've probably seen more technology change than any other industry, relatively.
Well, space travel's done pretty well, but yeah.
Yeah, but has it though? If you compare it, because we've
No,
had
actually, probably not.
we've had changes of machine action, the types of machines. We've got brushless, we've got lithium-ion batteries, we've had wall pads, hybrid pads, microfiber pads. The foam pads have changed about 5 or 6 times. The shape.
Yeah, we get
Cooling holds,
8 meter
everything.
cables. That was pretty exciting.
And polishes are endless. I mean, if we got the original G3 that I started with and compared that to one of the sort of German or American high-tech diminishing heavy cut polishes now, they are entirely different things.
We were going through the polishing cupboard the other day and started pulling out all the old Legs Body Shop stuff from the very back, dusting.
That's it. I mean, it's and it'll never stop, I don't think. It'll always keep going. And these days, like you guys have just done, detailers need to realise it's not a we're going to teach you how to machine polish day. It's very much a we're going to either increase your efficiency or teach you something you don't know, or just even if it's just to open your eyes that there are alternative ways to do what you do. That's all going to go towards making you a better detailer.
Exactly. I mean, I was just so chuffed with the day. And we had somebody from Cornwall, somebody from Manchester, somebody from Norfolk. So he came by donkey and, made it all the way. Well, I say it was a caddy van, but, can't tell the difference. But
bring his own turnips.
He might have had
Sugar
something in the
beets.
back. It's a long wheelbase. It was James, so big. There's a lot of space in the back of his van. But we're going to hopefully do some more in the year stuff. So and you've got quite a busy training schedule anyway. So we just sort of squeeze things in and around. But I've already had messages this morning, knowing that you're coming here. Firstly, asking for an address and autographs and stuff like that.
Stop it.
No, so I gave him a different address. It's fine. He's quite weird in the first place. And
I'm at Reading. How much further is this?
Yes.
It gets better, right? Yeah.
Yeah, then he gets to Swindon. We're going to hopefully organise another maybe 2 or 3 days this year, possibly.
Yeah. But and it was really for the members, it's trying to work out what they want. And we asked at the end of the day, obviously wet sanding is very popular.
It is.
The reason, and it's, yes, I do teach wet sanding. What I find weird with wet sanding is the amount of times it's the most popular subject, maybe because not a lot of people offer it as training, and then you need the right type of paint and defects which we've created there to be able to show reasons for sanding. Very few people actually then seem to go away and carry on what they've learned.
So that there is one of the key points, because we do like a bolt-on for the machine polishing bit. But the first thing that we say on the wet sanding course is, why are you wet sanding? And it's, to remove orange peel. Why? Why are you removing orange peel? Especially on a factory vehicle, there's a reason why these cars have orange peel these days, and you don't want to see them. So, you have to ask the questions why. And it's just like, well, these guys are doing it, or I've seen it here, I've seen it there. And it's like, they're not the reasons to wet sand.
Remember that I'm sanding, not now, but obviously when we used to paint lots of cars.
Yeah.
We would, and so people understand this, when I was wet sanding a car that we've done a full respray on, it's a very different process, it's a different process to just painting a car, accident repair, and out the door. We would be, as I showed you on the day, we're talking about settling of primers and fillers, and then even the paint, waiting for it to settle. Then we sand it down, and then we lacquer it again. So it's double lacquered. And clear coat flows better over clear coat to start with because it hasn't got anything to suck into. If you let the first, all the sort of almost trifle layers of paint all settle, sand it, the finish you get out the gun the second time around, which is on the demo panels there, normally it looks flawless, means the amount of sanding we have to do is less. And you've got a healthy clear coat there. But I also have sanded factory cars, but I've also turned away more factory cars for customers wanted done than actually I've taken on. Yeah. Because when the customers explain what they're going to do with a car, it's an everyday car, and I'm like, it's not for you.
Yeah,
it's not for you.
Don't do it.
But I show for denibbing, taking dirt out runs. But of course, if you paint, that'd be a brilliant course. Because I had to do that regularly on our own paintwork. So it's it's almost as if a detailer wants to learn it, because then they feel like they know absolutely everything. It's the pinnacle of what you can do, but it's not something you actually really do in the real world.
Yeah, so we sort of try and explain how you can use it to make your your sort of scratch removal more efficient. But that's kind of the limit of where you want to use it. And it's when you try and explain to them that once you've sanded an area, the texture is then different to the surrounding areas, and it is very much a do the best you can for the customer, but there's always going to be a compromise because you're always changing it. Well, it's strange. The detailing hub was famous for it. I remember there was a VXR? Was it a VXR or something like that? One of the guys on Detailing World, and he did a full wet sand of the factory paint. I think he actually took the car back to be redone when it was brand new because he wasn't happy with it. And then there was a full wet sand on it.
And 4 years later, the rear boot bubbled up.
Here we go.
I'm assuming.
He onto his voxels again. But like Kelly said, for a car that you want to use at all, it's completely impractical.
Yeah.
Show car, fine. And it could be I've wet sanded factory clear coats that they are literally, it's their toy, weekend, dry use. Fine, I will do it. But I've also wet sanded to partially remove texture. And then, so when I teach, it's to do with the backing plate and if it can conform to it or not, and then it gets quite geeky. But the problem is, even when you partially remove orange peel, you've removed almost 2/3 of the clear coat that you would if you removed all of the orange peel. If that makes sense. So you don't gain much by leaving half the orange peel. It's not like you've gone, oh, right, so let's say it took 6 microns off to take it all off. It's taken 4. And you're like, well, by the time you polish it, another 2-3 microns. So you might be at 8 microns compared to 9 or 10. And you're like, well, you're halfway through the graze you just change the graze and backing and you remove all of it. And it's the same time. So I have occasionally, again, because of the specialists we have partially sanded paint when someone's had a car painted somewhere, it's all factory and there's a really bad paint job, and they've come up and literally mapped out and even marked out just that patch is really bad. Can you match that? I wonder how many people could do that. We can, and we have done it. And my frontman's booked in. I'm like, oh my God. Because to actually try and soften the wave to match the rest of the paint to make it look original, well, we have done that. But
it's a really fine
one car in 300.
The problem as well is even the orange peel itself, you might get the texture right, but the spacing might be slightly different.
So
you're
softening it. I call it softening it, blending it.
Yeah. So it's trying to get across the detailers have this romantic view in their mind of having this mill pond flat customer car, like a brand new 911 comes to them for a full $4,000 wet sand. It's not practical. And the issues outweigh the benefits on something like that. And a lot of them don't know how to time it or price it because they've never experienced how long it takes to do something like that.
And the irony is the trade that needs to learn that subject more is painters.
Body shop. Yeah.
And I had experience with a company that has pads and compound that come in the other day and interested in white labelling. So they said, look, obviously they can bring their products in, say, can you compare and could you make something equivalent or better? So the first thing I did was...
Oh, yeah, you squirted their stuff all over the panel and it was all watery, wasn't it?
Well, I'd done a filler test, and they said, like, some people like our compound, some don't, and some compare it to this brand. And I'm like, didn't even get a machine out. I just started dabbing it. And they're like looking, going, what's this nutter doing on my sanded down paint so I can see for fillers? And I went, I'll explain why some people love your compound, some don't. And I soon started doing it. I went, well, it's not as aggressive as the competitors you're comparing it against. And they went, but it cuts more. I went, no, it doesn't. Then I wiped it off, and it was like the best filling product I've ever seen compared to the competitive. So I went, so you could see them getting confused already. Then I picked up a DA machine, random autumn port machine. And they went, why are you getting a sander out? And I'm thinking, this is a company supplying to body shops, calling the polisher that we all use a sander, and not just, they went, no, you're doing this wrong. These pads are not for sanders. I mean, it's not a sander. And then when I explained a bit about...
Would we have heard this company, who these companies are?
Maybe. But
we'll find out afterwards.
Yeah. Yes.
So when I'm showing them what happens with a DA, they're like, blown away, absolutely blown away. So it's surprising there's parts of the industry that are really lacking knowledge.
You're like one of the sort of crossovers, though, because ordinarily or historically, painters and detailers don't get along.
No. It's like the Great War. Yeah.
All of the paint shops I've used, when my shop was open, it's always been a very fine line relationship with them because they don't really they either blame us for silicon being on the car, that's one of those things, or we'll look at the finish and we won't be happy, or the colour match will be slightly off. There's the commercially acceptable phrase that's thrown around.
10% of we haven't talked for over a year and a half because of COVID, but my full-on one-to-one, so one person all week, about 150 people I've taught over the last 8-9 years, 10% of them have been body shops, independent body shops. So it's interesting that, and now...
They're definitely moving towards, quite a few I've seen are adopting detailing tactics.
Bert might know one of them, but there's a couple of car manufacturers that have asked me to go in to improve their polishing. And of course, the first thing I do when I go in, I'm like, well, your technique of sanding isn't correct. And why are you using, let's say, a rotary and of a worn out pad, the usual thing that's on the floor and there's no cleanliness. And they're actually, some of them even saying there's something wrong with our paint when it's not the paint, it's always their polishing or vice versa. So it's like they're actually at least seeking advice and looking into the industry. And it's interesting that you've got CEOs of companies or operations managers going, I'm going to look at a detailer instead of the body shop manufacturer. And I'm talking to a massive paint manufacturer at the moment about working with them because they never teach body shops, the people, the end users using their products, how to finish them. So they're blaming the paint for swirl marks, sinking, settling, drop back. And it's always the paint's fault. It's not the process. But we're not talking about applying paint badly. They're using, what you said earlier, sort of G3 from years ago, 20 years ago. They're still stuck in the dark ages. They are.
Yeah. So one of the... I sort of grew up working at main dealers, and one of the prestige dealers that I worked for, main dealers, they had a never-ending issue of... And we still see it now. We see a lot of the... I won't name any names, but a lot of the sort of supercar-type brands. And then they're sending cars out, and detailers are doing the old, look at the state, there's sanding marks all over it. Because the detailers haven't been in the sort of immediate area of those cars being made or even shipped or PDI'd, what these guys don't realise is that the cars leave the factory absolutely perfect, but because of the products and the processes they're using, the fillers are dropping out or the sanding marks are coming back through from the clear coat as it settles and as it goes forward.
And that's blamed at the paint material, would you believe, most of the time, and not the process.
But it's kind of both, though, isn't it? Because like you're saying there, is the sort of information that the paint manufacturers should be giving isn't there. No. And as a result, they're using improper finishing techniques or products. Because I've seen them still using the really high RPM denibbers. I've been up to one of the factories up north. Super high RPM denibbers. And then they're running over it with 3 famous polishes that we've all grown up with on a handheld rotary, air-powered. Looks great, perfect, goes out, goes to dealership. Some kid like me will hot TFR it to get it for its BDI. That awful sort of treatment of the car goes into the showroom. All of a sudden, all of these fillers and oils have been dissolved by the TFRs and stuff, and you've got a car covered in sanding marks. It needs to be educated from the start. Like you're saying, the suppliers of the paint need to take the technicians away and say, listen.
I mean, that's something that when we were talking to Tony from Road Point a few weeks back, and something they're trying to develop machinery for within the paint plant.
Yes,
I can't remember how much we can exactly talk about this. That's why I'm kind of squinting at you, but tell me to shut up when I need to.
Well, we're under formal NDA, so we've got to be very careful. I think that's probably the limit of where we can go.
But they are trying to develop techniques to detect it before it actually leaves.
Yes, to detect
and work out further back down the line where the changes need to be made.
Indeed.
I think the ultimate aim for these, I mean, hence why we've seen orange peel increase so much over the years, is because they try to eliminate finishing as much as possible now, aren't they? So people like, Wolfsburg in Germany, their finishing department does very little. They're removing defects. They're not actually finishing the cars like
what's interesting,
Bentley or Aston Martin do.
It's interesting with them because, in fact, one of those plants for one of those manufacturers is something we've been talking about, and they have gloss meters, effectively Gonia photometers, taking various different readings, automated on robot arms as it's going through the process. So the computer is telling them your paint's not up to snuff, send it back, before you've even had to get it, finished at the final stage.
But it probably goes even further than that, because you might find that within that automated process, they'll adjust paint flow and airflow to actually get the finish as they're doing it. So it may not even be part of the finishing process. That gloss reading or that sort of probably a texture reading will be part of the paint process, and they'll adjust it as they're doing it.
Yeah, in real time,
to eliminate, Fritz,
Wastage.
who's been working there for 30 years with his super three-phase Bosch polisher. They don't want him to work there anymore.
No.
Because as soon as you introduce humans into the process, that's when you start getting
mistakes and cost.
and
I'm
costs.
pretty sure this is how Skynet started in Terminator. It all came out of Wolfsburg.
Rise of the machines.
First we had the Gonio photometer, then we had T6. So it's interesting times. So, I'm trying to work out where we're going for now. I can't remember.
Well, we'll have a break and then we can do some car news.
That'd be cool. Pro Detailer Car News with Kelly Harris.
You're slightly more West Country every time you do that.
Yeah.
Car news! Tractor news!
Brum, brum. So, there is lots of car stuff there, but I'm trying to think where we finished off our last car news, because so much has been happening.
Well, I think we should hand it straight over to Ian, because the saga continues.
Yes, I don't even know what's happened here. I just saw you a bit tearful this morning.
Oh, no. Last podcast we finished off with slightly good news that we received halfway through that it the A5 might only need a new timing chain.
Yeah.
They've since actually taken the rocker cover off and found swarf everywhere.
Oh.
So I'm back to rebuild.
Okay, so are you going to rebuild it? Are you going to flog it as pretty good car, good runner, like it, eBay?
That's going to come down to what the engine rebuilder says once I tell him everything that it will actually need doing. So it's not just going to be new piston rings.
First fully forged bottom end GTX 3040R.
That would be good, wouldn't it? Then?
540
can I actually ask, are these two just as bad as me and you when it comes to... Oh, we are worse.
We are much worse. So basically, Ian never modifies cars, but he buys slightly nicer, more expensive cars in the first place, newer cars. James won't modify BMW because apparently all BMWs are perfect and you can never improve a BMW. But he's got a Skoda, which was what he turned up in this morning. And
I have previous form of modifying cars.
I mean, I used to modify cars, but...
Didn't you get
they always ended up worse. So
rolling a Fiesta on a roundabout does not count as a modification.
Me and Bert were speaking the other night, and
Sorry to hear that.
suddenly realised that we both are serial modification guys.
Yeah, we haven't had one standard car.
I've never, ever, ever had a standard car. And it doesn't matter how serious that car is. It's like, I've got to do something to it. And it's all disease.
You've even modified your £250,000 McLaren.
The McLaren is already in bits, and it's been in bits for 4 months.
Is that intentional, though? Because they have got...
No. This is me tinkering, as some people like to call it. And you really shouldn't be able to make that car better, but I can always seem to find a way of spending tons of money on doing something and personalising a car, which we all know in England, in America, it's actually really popular and people earn more money, but in England, it devalues the car.
Not necessarily. A car with a fully forged engine is worth more money than a car without.
You need to lose grip of this reality.
No, it's not true. This conversation, I'm afraid.
Kelly sold his Lambo because it was such a minter that he would lose value by doing anything.
Well, I actually did buy an exhaust and a few other bits, but never got round to fitting it because it was such a pristine, perfect, impeccable history car. That's why I bought it. There was nothing I could do to it, and then suddenly it was a burden. So I was like, if I do anything to this car, it's going to ruin the car, the pedigree of it. And then I was even drawn to have to take it right across the country to the same dealership, which was always done on the same week of every year. So it had the same dealer stamp that said to Bert, I was doing more miles driving it to the dealership up north to get a service and leaving it and going home than I was actually doing in the year driving it. And I'm like... all because of the stamp and the history.
Has to have the correct magic tree air freshener in there for the dealership.
That's not how it works at
and
Lamborghini.
I didn't like it because everyone thought it was amazing because it was like, what can I actually physically do to it?
Yeah.
So
It's a disease.
And so now you've got it's a long tail McLaren 6. Is it a 610?
Yeah, the 600. The
600.
The word LT, I mean, it's about, I think, for 40 millimeters longer. They really are using that.
Yeah, there are situations where 40 mil can be really useful,
But,
like aerodynamics, for example. It's all about drag.
Yeah,
The 675 LT was quite long though, wasn't it?
yeah.
That was quite a long one because that's what our friends over in Germany had.
Yes,
Apex,
at
they had
Apex.
the 675 LT. Not sure if that's the one they blew up.
No, I think they did blow up the engine of it, but I think McLaren then took the engine and fixed it for them.
But they had a good hard service, those cars.
Oh yeah, no, they work for that. And to be fair, if you look at the lineage of engines that explode, like my Subaru engine, for example, and that McLaren engine, they're pretty much the same thing. You know, it's high performance.
turbocharged,
Exactly that. And
Some of the combustion stays on the inside.
yeah,
that's it. There's definitely some engineering going on.
yeah, no, it's pretty much. Well, it's like the new Subaru I've got. It's basically a Porsche engine. But it's in the right place.
No.
He gets it. I've activated him now. I've activated Porsche and Subaru both make obviously flat engines, and they both got this sort of knowledge base, and they feed off each other. I mean, the variable valve timing thing. That was Subaru. But, you know. Anyway,
There is a brief point to make though, is that the Boxer engine was invented by BMW.
yes, and because you made motorbikes, didn't you? Yeah, Boxer 4s. So.
No, twos. Boxer twins to start with.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's motorbikes. So,
But yeah,
back to McLaren.
The problem is with Bert's modifying is that it's never.
I don't like to call it modifying. It's enhancing.
He doesn't always improve the vehicle.
So I was just checking the time left on the card if we're going into the problem with Bert's modifying.
It doesn't always improve the vehicle, does it, Bert?
I think it normally does. What? Oh, were you talking about Fritz?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Fritz is a long term. Fritz is a Audi D2 S8 that I bought after blowing up a Hawkeye Impreza and drinking quite a lot and watching the film Ronin. And I went on eBay and put a thing on it. Anyway,
what was the other car in Ronin?
That was the one that was behind. That was a BMW, wasn't it?
And you chose the Audi.
I chose the Audi.
How could you?
Because it's got better
Was there a
tow.
Peugeot 406
There was.
or something?
405.
Yeah.
Or was it a 605?
Oh, it was a 605.
605. Yeah,
605. I love those as well. 605 SVE, 3 litre V6, 24 valve. Oh. But I went for the Audi. Mostly because at the time I was doing casking and I borrowed my dad's XK150 Jag to go around to shows. And if you wanted an S class, you can't have it with a knob. And if you had the BMW with knob, so that left really an Audi.
Bought an Audi and
I
became the knob.
And I fitted a knob, and it can tow 2,350 kilos, which is quite a lot of kilos.
Well, it could when it had the right gearbox in it.
No, it's got a gearbox from a TDI now. It's an 01E TDI box, which is like the extra long first.
So basically, what we get into the point is that you've ruined a perfectly good Audi S8 by converting it to manual, which now has a theoretical top speed of 300 miles an hour.
276 miles an hour.
But it will never get there.
No, it struggles to get over 150, as we found. But they never did a right-hand drive manual, you see. Right. So everything is custom. The pedal box is custom. Everything is and we put.
I'm going to say you are far, far worse than me.
100%.
No.
100%. 100%.
I'll tell you what, you say you'll never get there, but in a vacuum, if he were to drive that in a vacuum, he might suffocate and we wouldn't have to bother putting up with this anymore.
Anyway, I'm just trying to think of how many cars I've got that are non-runners and how many cars you've got that are non-runners.
1.
Yeah.
0. All of my cars are runners.
So,
hey, to be fair, when you pulled up with the in the Skoda, you're measuring up PCDs on that nice little VW.
Yeah, there's a swanky commercial van on the drive over set of tricky wheels on it.
Yeah, no.
Might have to nap there.
I assume those the caliper adapters all fit onto a Skoda.
They actually would all go on there.
Yeah.
It's a
when
weird.
you say will go on, I've got a guy out there who's already done it.
You've got a strange dichotomy. When I drive around the countryside with a camera kit in the car, bear in mind I drive like 500 quid, £1,000 cars. The camera kit is always worth more than the car. When you turn up in your van's worth more than my house. So we're kind of getting there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's.
What have you done to it? What have you done to it? Come on.
The list is huge. I mean, in parts, I've estimated I spent £25,000
Oh, that's nearly half of what you've spent on the D2.
in parts, but it's over 6.5 years. So when you look at it that way, I've just done bits and bits.
But you're saying at the end of spending this sort of money, you have a viable vehicle.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's possible.
A vehicle has never let me down once.
Blimey.
That is immaculate. and is improved in every comfort, noise, seating, engine, braking.
Bert's actually shrinking over there. I can see him imploding.
Almost like the opposite of Bert. Isn't it?
And I use it all the time, and it's built for a purpose.
Oh, no, we're definitely.
Yeah, that's it. Mine's locked in a garage and it's been sawn for 2 years.
Bert's parents have actually taken it off him and locked it at their family home.
It's like what's that film? It's my mum always said I couldn't handle the V8. There was was it Dukes of Hazzard? No, it was Starsky and Hutch. Was it? It was a film.
Oh, I can't remember. They both had V8s in though, so
yes,
it'll be one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what the car news is what's happening with the pile of scrap on the driveway?
It's gone.
Which one?
No, the blue one.
The one he's just asked about having it painted.
Yeah, that one. Well, they basically.
I know she got shiny wheels, so I haven't seen them yet.
And
Yeah.
I saw new brakes. I saw new brakes on it.
Alcon 6-pot 2-part discs. Yeah, 360mm.
There are little spooky remnants of Uncrashable too.
There are.
I saw a white boot lid outside the door.
The amount of number plate tape on the back of it. The amount of different regs that thing's had.
Hey, I went and saw one of your other Subarus the other day.
Ooh.
It's parked outside my new house. Not for long though, because I'm going to kick it off.
Oh, Boris. Oh, how is Boris? I haven't seen Boris for months.
It's still there, sadly.
Okay. Is our friend, has he moved into his place yet? Because he's gone quiet this week.
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, Boris is my Outback, which I've lifted. It's basically for when the zombie apocalypse comes.
I've heard a little bit about this car.
Yeah,
that's in the photo of it.
Yeah.
It's basically ruined that one as well.
300,000 miles. It's done more miles than anyone else here.
However,
how many engines?
It's basically Trigger's broom now.
Yeah, it's not Trigger's broom. It's done 300,000 miles, at which point compression was a little bit soggy. And so we went to rebuild the engine, but due to various things, it wasn't particularly brilliantly rebuilt. So we just about got it back here for 3 months of sort of holiday, and now it's back in Siren. And I happen to have a slightly whiny rear diff.
Oh.
I mean, would you whine after 300,000 miles? I probably
I suppose you would.
Yeah, so it's just got and with the diff, you never guess what he threw in. Gearbox. So it's got a new gearbox that's only done, I think it's 120,000, which for a Subaru is nothing. Yeah. And the engine's done 40,000, supposedly, because it's come direct from Japan.
Definitely hasn't been cut out of a stolen car.
Well, it might have some history, but even did you look at it, or Kevin looked at it and actually said, Christ, it really is a new engine. It must have been Kevin. We looked at it, and it was. And
I wouldn't have made such a compliment on a Subaru engine.
No, you wouldn't have, would you?
No.
So yeah, Boris is going to get the new engine put in, and then when the zombie apocalypse comes, I'll be ready. Okay. So I'm just hoping it doesn't come in the next month or two, otherwise we're in trouble. But it's got the ground clearance, so we can run over even fat people.
Thanks.
James has got us a new set of shiny China tyres.
Oh yes.
Yeah, would you like? They say they're great.
You got lots of stuff this guy.
I have got lots of stuff. So
found a guy.
Yeah, we just took the out of us for modifying cars, and now we go in here. He's put bloody tyres on his car.
OEM Plus is what I go for, actually. OEM Plus. So I was on Facebook the other night looking for cheap stuff for sale, as usual.
Yeah.
And I saw that somebody locally to home was breaking a modified Octavia VRS.
Mm-hmm.
So
was he a detective sergeant, or
it wasn't an Interceptor, sadly. So I thought I'd pop round there to get a tail light.
That's what you told her, anyway.
Well, I got a tail light, and I've got a full stainless steel exhaust system.
Oh, you bought that in the end?
He wasn't selling the wheels off his because he had some sort of like BBS CH kind of black wheels. And I was like, I want them. No, I'm not selling them. So I said, I've been trying to find a set of 18s for God knows how long, because they came with 17s or 18s. Mine had the crap ones on. He said, oh, well, I've got a set of standard Skoda 18s in the shed if you want to buy them. So I said yes.
I mean, you could have just put like a 1/2-inch weld bead around the edge of your current wheels.
Yeah, I could have
that would have worked as well.
So then I had the dilemma of tyres, because we know I'm reasonably tight when it comes to tyres.
I'm surprised you didn't try and make the 17-inch tyres fit on the 18-inch rims, to be honest.
Well, the reason I was looking for rims is because I'd expired the old tyres somewhat. Yeah. And my...
it's always a good excuse when you buy new wheels.
My audible tachograph was getting a bit tiresome, which was a 10mm bolt in the rear tyre.
Yeah.
It's good for snow.
Yeah, I could hear it.
That one wheel.
That one wheel, yeah.
I couldn't hear it, but Ian used to twitch every time he got in the car.
No, he twitches anyway. It's nothing to do with the car.
Started doing the Severus Snape song in the back.
So yeah, I needed tyres, and I was struggling to find anything that I really sort of wanted. Didn't want to spend 500 quid on PS4s. Even though that was the tyre I would
really
go
be
for.
sort of 500 quid. I got the GS5s I put on mine, the same price as PS4s. They're 86 quid for a 245 45 18.
86 quid fitted, plus VAT.
ink
which works
VAT,
out about
ink delivery.
125.
No, ink VAT, ink delivery. It's just black circles.
They worked out about 400 and something quid.
Right.
And can't seem to get hold of Eagle F1 Asymmetricos, which is my other favourite tyre.
Yeah, that's what I've gone for.
So yeah, I'm not sure how long I'm keeping the Scod missile for. So I went to a local tyre place. That's what they had in.
My God, you bought new tyres. I thought you'd done third-hand retreaded,
No.
part-worn Chinese.
So there was lots of shouting in the background.
Yeah, there was a lot of shouting in the background. They had a massive row. They didn't have any in, so I left very quickly. So I've experienced like super budget Chinese tyres before on track. And the reason they were good is because they're
you were drifting,
notoriously soft, and drift cars as well. But they always had like a crazy wet rating, and we never really got our heads around it. The two reasons why is because they put big drainage channels in, or water dispersion channels, to cut down on the amount of rubber they use per tyre. Secondly, they use a soft compound because rubber itself is quite hard. So the additives they put into to make it up makes it a soft tyre. So they're actually extremely good. They just don't last for a horrendous amount of time. And fuel efficiency...
You say for a horrendous amount of time, not even for a useful amount of time. How many miles are you going to get out of these?
I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, they were 200 quid for a full set fitted.
Yeah.
And they are very grippy, and they are good in the wet.
Can you pronounce the name?
Wind Force.
Oh, okay, no.
Oh, okay, because there's Landsail is another one.
Oh,
So
they're sort of bordering mid-range now. Landsail, yeah. It's wind
Force.
Is it Landsail or Great Wall that
Sunwind.
did the Freelander in?
You are all talking a very weird language to me.
Really?
I've got
Oh, have you got P0 Trofeo track cup RSs that cost £5,000 per square inch?
I've got P0 McLaren fitment tyres on my Caddy van. So McLaren treads super soft.
Have you got one of those service contracts where they just replace the tyres? So these ones are worn out. We'll just take those off for now.
I only need fronts.
So yeah, I have McLaren fitment P0 tyres.
How do you mind if I ask an indelicate question? How much do they cost?
Oh, I was cheating. I put new Trofeo R tyres on my McLaren, and they happen to be the same fitment. The front
So you got them part worn?
So they're part one of my McLaren, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
you're not worried?
you've spoilt it now.
You're not worried about them catching fire?
No.
No, okay, cool. That's fine. They've done tests, I'm sure.
So yeah, 200 quid Chinese tyres on the Skoda. The exhaust will be fitted this weekend, I think.
Okay. I need...
tail light needs to be fitted. And that's all the news there is.
It's pretty good.
Really?
Pretty good. I've got some more bits for my one. I've arrived from Japan.
Oh, the E36 hasn't arrived yet.
Does your roof work yet? Because I saw a photo of it out front with the roof down.
So it'll do 70% of the process.
Well, that's so it's a semi-electric hood.
Oh, it's fully automatic opening hood.
It's the closing that's not quite so automatic.
But
Great for sunny weather.
I think we mentioned it on the last podcast. I had to ring BMW, which I always love doing. Flexed my card.
I'm told they enjoy it too.
Card down the phone.
It's got a private access number.
Yeah, that got me an increased price. So I've ordered a micro switch from Germany.
Yeah.
And that will fix it.
Okay.
That will fix it.
Cool.
It's when he calls BMW and say, "Hey, it's me."
Hey, hun. Hey, hun. What you'll do later?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but when I was getting some spares, because I got a new dashboard bit coming for TJ, the blue Subaru, I called up the spares.
Called Todger.
Shut up. I called up the spares department, Simpson's Subaru, the other side of Swindon, and I said, it's Bert here.
So not this side?
Not this side, no. And
Why don't you call up the UK importer?
Because I didn't. But anyway, what do you mean? Why are you looking at me
There
like that?
isn't a UK importer for Subaru anymore, is there?
I am.
They abandoned the UK.
No, they didn't.
That's
That's
Mitsubishi,
Mitsubishi, you fool.
No, Subaru.
Don't
they
tell me
completely
like
leave the
this
UK?
while we're live on air. That's outrageous. This is not the case. You're playing with me now.
I thought, didn't you buy that off them when they left before? Anyway,
I bought that when they were on the point of destitution during the recession of
I thought they
2010.
completely left.
No, they came back.
Even worse news as
Maybe
well.
it's just wishful thinking.
There's a possibility that Subaru might even be supporting Bert's car habits moving forwards into the future because they've released a full EV now.
Yeah, I'm not likely to get on board with that. They've had PHEVs for a long time.
Yeah, no, this is a full
blown. Well, have you seen the new GT86/BRZ car with the 2.4 in it? That's kind of cool. I wouldn't get a coupe because I'm not having a midlife crisis, but no offense. But, or offense. He's got a coupe too. Ed Simpson's, I started saying I'm the one with the Outback that's done 300,000 miles, etc., because I need a lot of parts for Boris. No, quite the opposite. Before I'd even said I'm the one with the Outback, he said, "Oh, I remember you. Yeah, you got the Outback that's done 300,000 miles." I was like, that was 2 years ago I talked to you, and that's how important I am in this department advisor's mind. And
if you take a Subaru for a service, does it come out with a magic tree that's scented like Labrador?
No.
What about flat shoes?
Doesn't need it really.
You get a free pair of flat shoes with it.
Crocs.
Hey, no, I've got Crocs.
Yeah. Well,
for business purposes.
Well, the one thing is with the Outback, the problem is every time I pass somebody else in an Outback, the same car, Subaru people tend to wave at each other because we're nice people.
Car you pass in that thing, is it?
No, I wave in the opposite direction. There's always a grumpy, later middle-aged, large, sort of
I haven't got a Subaru.
rural woman. Woman.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
You know,
you sure they're not just waving to like the marvel that you're still on the road?
They're trying to flag you down.
Look.
Oh, I rescued a BMW. Did we say that? Yes, because I'd just come to the podcast after I just rescued a BMW. Or tried to rescue it. I used you, and then we didn't manage to fix it.
Yeah, because the guy started panicking about me mentioning removing trim panels and pulling things. So, I've got some other BMW news.
Oh, great. Kelly, that McLaren of yours.
I've decided on a name for the E34.
Oh, that is important news. What were you calling it?
Sabine.
Sabine, in honour of Miss Schmidt.
Because she was famously photographed driving an E34 ring taxi.
Okay.
So
your 520i is...
Well, I think it's fitting at the E34. And she passed this year, which was very, very sad.
It is.
So I think I'd call it Sabine.
Yeah, I think that's
my first
nice.
Female car.
So in my head, I'm always going to call it your ring taxi.
For very, very, very different reasons. I mean, your Audi's soon becoming that with the amount of
his needs a ring or two. His ring needs 4 rings. Well, technically 8 rings. How many rings are on the pistons of his Audi?
None at the minute.
Oh yeah, of course they're all in the sun,
broken and snapped and full of carbon.
No, it's a completely different type of sport. Not sure which. It's very special.
It looks like the cam bearings have degraded through dry running
on his E888
from the photograph I've seen.
Yeah, is that to do with ragging it from cold every morning? And never getting warm?
I don't want to get involved in that conversation.
No, it's the fact it would have been perfectly good if it had been looked after.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Well, it'd be funny. Broke my missus drove it, so not my fault. It doesn't lessen the fact I've got to pay to fix it. But...
Yeah, it's quite. Well, you could always borrow her Capture, I guess.
Shut up. Making it worse now.
Today, he had to nip to the garage to look at the Audi. And I said, you can take the Skoda if you want. Do you know what he said? No, I'd rather. No, I'll go in the MG. Who would ever say that? No, I won't take a Skoda. I'll take an MG.
Yeah, and specifically a TF. Jesus.
Better paintwork than the Skoda.
Beg to differ.
Mine's got paintwork on all of the cars.
And you've done most of it out of a tin. Again, I beg to differ.
Scratch and shroud. So, Kelly, what car are you... You talked about McLaren, you talked about how you've been shaving all the paint off to reveal the carbon fibre and have managed to therefore add value to it by removing paint, which is pretty impressive.
Digging for gold, really.
It is. Yeah. But you said you're kind of coming to the end of your relationship with McLaren because... You need a Subaru?
No, I never said that.
You had a Subaru, though.
Did you have a Subaru?
Yes.
Oh, what Subaru have you had?
You've just let him know. I've kept it from you. Absolutely.
This is outrageous. I'm knocking the door from the inside.
WhatsApp group now.
The trouble is, you're going to ask what model, and I'm going to go, I don't know.
Brilliant.
Holy shit. You had a Subaru, you don't know what model?
It was an estate version. It would be about a W-Reg, X-Reg.
Okay,
turbo.
So 2000.
Yeah, 2-litre turbo.
Was it an Impreza or a Legacy?
No, Impreza.
It was an Impreza. Okay, so it's a wagon.
I'm going to tell you why I bought it. Because they have such horrible paint, original. And it was dark colour, and they are notoriously bad for looking after, and they mar, as you know, and get swirly. I was like, I just need to buy myself a raggy, snotty car.
I just started liking you as well.
And I wanted a car that had this typical Japanese horrible soft paint, and it was £1,000. It was a bargain. And I hardly drove it. All I'd done was put lots of square patches of nano coatings all over the car and some waxes and sealants. Then deliberately parked under trees so birds could poo on it.
Sacrilege.
And then tried to park it near the beach.
Can you see the life draining from Bert's eyes?
It was taxed and MOT'd, but it was just literally parked in particular places just to do a nano coating test.
You monster.
And as soon as it had its use, I got rid of it.
Please tell me you scrapped it.
I did actually sell it at the same price.
Oh,
I didn't make any money on
Investment
it.
vehicle. Nice.
But I've got to admit, it had one year we had bad snow, and I hate to say this, it was literally brilliant in the snow. It was unbelievable.
Well, if you drove it more, you'd find it's brilliant in the dry, brilliant in the wet, brilliant generally.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
So you found out the way to put it into four-wheel drive mode rather than struggling for ages in two-wheel drive trying to get out of a field, is what you're saying.
No, I was in four-wheel drive.
competent driving.
Shut up. I didn't. I got stuck in like 9 foot of snow and videoed it.
Didn't you get towed out by a Mitsubishi?
No, it was a Renault van.
Oh, was it?
No,
Renault?
the Renault van couldn't even get far enough into the snow to hitch up the tow rope that I had to pull me out. I
He was
ended
going
up
to,
putting.
and then he saw it was a Subaru.
No, he wasn't very mechanical. He didn't even know where the towing eye was for his van. He said, "I don't know how you tow
Doesn't
this
need
car."
one.
No, he does. It was a Renault van. Of course, he needs a towing eye.
He's got a rear beam. Just loop it around that.
Yeah, no, this was the front because he could only nose in. It was a narrow little lane, and I'd got a little bit wedged, and it's full-time four-wheel drive. However, it's got a viscous coupling in the centre, and if you hold it in second, it locks that viscous coupling, and so you're effectively got a locking centre diff. And then I just drove out of this like 9 foot. I think it was actually 50 foot
After how long?
snowdrift.
It was a good couple of days you were in there.
No, it's about 45 minutes. And bear in mind that I've been driving around fields the day before, because parents got a little sort of small holding thing, towing a trailer around full of wood, about a ton and a half, and it was still tugging it up hills and all the rest of it. So, yes, no, they're excellent, awesome cars. And I think we need to do something about your sins against this Impreza wagon. And I can think of a good way of atoning for them.
I can see what's coming.
Yeah, get your spray gun, honey buddy. We're going to squirt some green stuff over my Subaru. And the thing is, it's going to be, hopefully, if we can, obviously we've got to do lots of things. I've got to sell house, go on the game for a bit, and figure out the costs. But
Can you afford to go on the game?
the colour, yeah, it takes a long time though, I tell you.
It'll cost you a fair bit.
Made 50p last night. How much did they pay? Penny each. The Alpine green BMW, which I saw with James actually at Frankfurt.
Hold your horses. That's illegal.
No.
There is no way.
I thought you were going to be a
that
fan
I
of this.
will allow you to put
Okay.
a sacred colour
It's
on a
gorgeous.
Subaru. Yes, for
It's-
Alpinas.
Well, why not for superior vehicles? I think what also is the Alpina one different from standard BMW green?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the Alpina, and it's just called metallic green at the moment, from what I can tell online.
All we need is a colour code. All we need.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
get one of them. They.
Well, I called up a BMW dealership, and they gave me a direct contact number for that. You have like a special zone if you want to buy an Alpine. So, is it an Alpine or an Alpina? I can never remember.
I'm not telling you now.
Okay, well, I don't really care. But anyway, so that's the idea. And I've even got permission from the powers that be, i.e. my partner, and I got her to pick colours and stuff like that. And
So if here's the thing: if
Yeah.
you paint your Subaru Alpina dark green, I
Yes.
am going to sticker the Octavia like Colin McRae's 22B, and I will park it outside your house with all these scrap Subarus every day forever. Do you know what, I'm even going to put a Monster Energy sticker on the back window.
Here's a question. What was the first, Kelly, what was the first of your cars that you detailed yourself? As in your own car that you actually bothered to do a full detail on?
I'm trying to avoid, again, what is detail? Hand polishing, hand cutting? Would you call it the whole car? Or with a machine?
The most in-depth job that you could possibly do on it.
when you put your finger up the exhaust pipe.
No, it'd be the M3, the E46 M3.
Oh, God.
Oh, great.
That was
choice.
that was
Jesus.
that was a
Great
period
choice of car.
I had just before created my business.
Had a period and got BMW. Yeah, standard.
And then that was the first, my own car that I fully wet sanded, fitted new glass, because every time I made something perfect, it showed the next part that wasn't. So
BMW does lots of work
recoloured
to
the
do.
leather,
Yeah.
changed the wheels, then it got into modifying, and that car annoyingly started off standard, and I promised I'd never do anything to it. It then sat in my unit as I got the new workshop, and because people were walking in not knowing this, people would walk in and go, "That's stunning. What's that? What have you done to it?" And I'd explain, I've detailed it. Everyone's like, "You've got my car." So then it very quickly was
Why
like,
are you there?
Hang on a minute.
can't
So what
use it.
you're
I can't
saying
use it.
is your whole career, fame and fortune,
correct.
is directly responsible or directly related to a BMW.
Yeah, a lot of people
Well,
know.
there we go.
my
We
history.
This
We
is
can end the
before you
podcast
you
there.
bought the Subaru.
We can end the podcast there.
This is before you bought the Subaru and
is.
then committed crime.
Yeah.
So actually, the BMW was just like a feeder car to
I'm
get you up
sorry,
to that
but
level.
There's a lot of people that know my car. I was amazed how many people, and it never went anywhere, but everyone saw it on social media.
Was
But
it
yeah.
broken or
No, it's just, it was too perfect to use. I mean, a
There
polished
you go. There's the statement.
too perfect to use? Sorry, this was a BMW
46 M3.
M3
E46.
in Laguna Seca Blue.
Oh, well, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the colour.
Yeah, I can't picture it, but it's fine.
Teal.
You know. Yeah, no, I just don't want to picture it.
I mean, I have fully painted a TVR 10 years before that and sanded it and polished it, but it was, if I look back at
I
that,
take you did the chassis as well.
yeah, but if I know now, if I went back and looked, if I could physically look at that work again, because it was 10 years in the past before I really understood detail, I'd probably cringe. But at the time, I can actually remember putting a hand glaze on as part of the process, or a machine glaze, a 3M machine glaze, and then I remember it getting a lot shinier and deeper when I waxed it, thinking that was a normal process. And now I'd be like, that means it wasn't polished properly. Absolutely wasn't polished. So the first proper detailed car where I could say that is quality work would be the M3.
On the TVR, did you pull back a section of carpet, sign your name, and then draw a knob? Because that's what everyone at the factory used
of
to
course.
do.
Yeah.
What type of TBR was it?
I've had a couple. So
It's amazing. Car enthusiasts, there seems to be we're part of a piston heads
as
group.
I said to you the other day, like my first car I learned to drive was an Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's me. I'm tarnished for life, aren't I?
Yeah, there is that. There is that.
Says two cars I've never owned.
It's
Never had a TVR.
No.
Never had an Alpha.
At least you know where the fuse box is, though.
yeah. So I had a TVR Chimera, you
Yeah.
pronounce it, it was the 5 litre or the 500 HC.
Well, Nick Fisher's going to be all over this.
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah.
And then a TVR Tuscan, but the Mark 1 for the better rose, or the red rose as they call it.
Yeah.
So Mark 1,
Better
which
suspension.
was lethal, Leary.
I do like Tuscan. Tuscan S is my favourite.
For the price, for how much they are, and it brilliant car. But you've got to know about how to look after cars.
Yeah, don't open the front bonnet further than like 35 degrees because it just
Yes.
snaps off.
Yeah.
So I've heard.
Quality.
So I've heard.
Did you have the car over 30,000 miles? So you didn't have to do a full rebuild of the Speed 6 engine. Who would have a straight 6 engine?
I bought that car with almost a that one particular one. There's a different car. That the Tuscan was it just been resprayed. Just had a new Sagaris engine with 800 miles on the clock from a scrapper or something that had been written
Like
off.
a sag.
And then that engine, it's history I'm reading about, I think, 100 miles later after Racing Green, which is like one of the only TVR power for putting engines in, fitted a Sagaris engine, a lot of money. And he's done 100 miles, the owner, and the gasket. And it's like in total that engine's done 900 miles. So then it come apart, then it got rebuilt again, and I think it got rebuilt again. And I'm like, fortunately, I can see like £40,000 worth of parts later, I'm buying it when it's sort of ironed out all its problems. And the few years I had it, it was great.
Which is basically what's going to happen with my Audi once it's built.
What?
I'm going to get it redone and then sell it.
Why? If you get it redone, why not keep it? I mean, I made the same simple with TJ.
Because it's a 100,000 mile car, and once something starts going wrong, everything else will go wrong. It's like
It already has though.
pessimist.
yes, I know. And
Everything's
I'm
already
already
gone
2
wrong.
or 3 dominoes down. I just don't want to be at the end when the final domino falls and
I mean,
crushes me.
I still haven't ticked off the Quattro system from my Ian's Audi bingo card yet. I'm waiting for. I've got diffs on there.
Well,
I
I
play
don't
a
know.
dangerous game because it's got radar cruise control on it. Once that goes, I am finished.
He's out of it, literally.
I don't know what's going to break down first, you or the car. It's been emotional. Actually, no,
Sorry.
wrong. They're both broken down already.
Next magazine.
Next magazine, indeed.
Last little bit, and then we'll start the
topic.
podcast because we have gone on a little bit on this
Yeah.
one.
We have
It's
gone
been
on. What's the
lovely.
time?
Don't get me
3:24. That's cool. That's cool. Of all things, I'm taking the partner out for dinner tonight and a wine tasting. So that's be fun. But next magazine, we are
T minus 6-7 weeks away from
shitbags. Yeah, we are indeed. I've already started writing bits and
I
bobs.
wrote something the other day as well.
And
That's cool.
You've asked me to write something.
Yeah.
Well, this is the special thing. We now have a new feature called Kelly's Corner, Kelly's Column, Kelly's. Well, we talked about Kelly's Dungeon, but we thought probably Corner. Corner would be good. And the idea is a really, really in-depth, hardcore, anal.
Don't stop.
Yeah, keep going. You need to finish that sentence, Bert. Finish the sentence.
Kelly's edging towards the door.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've locked it
I'm
from
out
the
in the
inside.
countryside, and I did wonder that you may be different.
Yeah.
What you don't know is what's in the biscuits.
You wonder why the chickens keep running away.
Yes.
That's why there's a gate outside, so we can't get out. Yeah, we can't run away.
There are actually 2 gates outside.
Okay.
So a really in-depth, pedantic kind of look at a very narrow look at a subject, and we're going to be doing paint for the first one. Surprise.
Let's do paint, yeah.
And we're not just saying we're just doing paint. Of course, we're not doing everything on paint. We're going to pick a little bit of paint, and then we're going to do that really, really, really in depth.
Yeah.
So what sort of ideas have you had so far? I mean, just give us a brief outline.
So obviously you had a little taster from the panels that we've created and painted in house for training. So we can
definitely not solvent free.
No. So I threw quite a few ideas to you the other day about colour matching because I'm surprised how many people in the industry of detailing genuinely think it's just a colour code. You saw a panel demo the other day of one manufacturer's interpretation of the colour. So I was going to do a quite in depth of. I would actually say on certain colours, even what I know, I couldn't ever match a car perfectly. If you really wanted to look for a colour edge to edge, you will see it. So when customers expect to be a perfect match, there's a compromise. It's a bit like you said about the wet sand. There's always going to be a compromise at some point. Some of the compromises are tiny. So if I could help explain why sometimes it's impossible in certain colours to get a match. There is obviously certain colours that match brilliantly, but not all colours. So if I explain that, then it might make detailers understand, don't slag off the painter all the time, because I've actually painted some customers' cars 3-4 times in-house when I'm convinced we've got the right colour by using what we call spray test cards. Tested the colour, mixed our own matches up, blended, because we do all that, and offer it up to the car with 3 different types of colour light sources. Convinced we got the right one, and then mix and put it on the car. And occasionally you look at it and go, oh, it's brilliant. And then you put it outside a different angle and you're like, because of metallic lay, just the atomisation, there's so much involved that you're like, can I let that go? And possibly the customer wouldn't notice it. So, but we have redone cars many times over. Customer doesn't see that, they just get it done, it's finished and done on time. So if I can't get a colour match right, let's explain why.
Yes.
That's the best way. And then you've got the 3-stage pearl that you could paint the whole car and paint one panel at a separate time to the shell because you haven't got the room, which is what Lamborghini used to do when that's hand painted, and the door won't match because of another reason. So let's educate that. Let's sort of talk about water-based and solvent, why it's happened and what's the differences, or what's the consequences to a detailer. What does it really matter to us?
Well, also the difference how lacquer and base coat are different, and some are still solvent.
So that was more of a geeky, and we're not really trying yet to talk about how to polish paint, because that's not talking about paint, that's detailing.
Yeah.
So let's just go into the sort of worlds of paint tech itself. Maybe I'll get involved in different applications and anti-static guns that I think someone did the course this week.
Yes.
Said, plastic's always it will always be a different colour. And I was like, well, no, because we've painted tons of cars. I mean, really have done hundreds of cars over the last 10 years. If we do a full respray, the bumper matches the wing. Full stop, it matches. But then they're like, so how can it? 'Cause it's plastic, steel, aluminium, carbon fibre, it all matches. If you understand why, there could be a discrepancy, and it's to do with static on strong metallic colours, and the way the metallic lays, it can make the colour look different, or you can even fire up. But most of the time on a factory car, it's just because it's painted in a different plant. It's just completely painted at a different time.
A lot of people don't realise that. They think that the car's painted entirely put together, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of these cars are painted in bits.
Yeah. Well, it's like, is it Mini, where the body in white and everything, all of that's done in Swindon, and then it's shipped up to Oxfordshire for the final kind of bit and bob. So
And I'd probably go into shades when you've got colour matching issues, like last time I was painted, it was a long time ago, Ford Panther Black. One manufacturer might have 5 shade options, another manufacturer might have 12, but the largest amount of shade options in one brand of paint for that Ford Panther Black was 21 shade options. And it doesn't tell you that shade option on the colour code. So you've then got 21 shades, and then the chips you use might be ink and not paint. So some manufacturers are proud that the colour chips you get out on your little fan go up for a quick. That's not a colour match. That's just, that's the colour it is. Now let's check. But at least it might be sprayed, so it's actually real and not an ink interpretation. So all stuff like that, I think, is useful or intriguing to people that have never been around paint.
Yeah, no, I
think
that's...
it's something that we've been desperately trying to get somebody to talk about, isn't it? Because we were trying to speak to actual manufacturers and stuff when we were doing sort of history of paint articles, but it's...
For some reason, BASF didn't bother returning our emails.
No, we've tried getting in touch with a few of them, but I think it's going to be great because instead of learning about paint as a material, we're actually going to learn about paint as a substrate. So paint when it's applied, not paint when it's in a tin.
Yeah, and I can easily talk about ground coats, and that actually quite often the paint, you would never believe this, but certain colours, especially yellows of Lamborghini and certain reds, as Mazda has a Sol Red, which is one of the worst colours to match. But if you don't have the right ground coat underneath, it really alters the shade of the colour. So you'd think, well, surely just put a lot more red on so that the underneath doesn't match. And that's where it becomes an issue when you've got the original red and you're blending into, and then you've got a ground coat, which might be a dark grey. There's that blend transition. So there's a really strange thing with paints that some are very, very see-through. They really are.
So I had no idea about this until a few years ago when we had... my friend's got an E60 M5. No, my friend's got an E60 M5 and it's Indianapolis red. And it went to have some paintwork done and it was way off. And as you know, I speak a little bit of German. And on the colour code in the engine bay, it says Fuller Schwarz. And that means effectively black primer. And what you need to do is like Kelly's saying, is it needs a black ground coat for the colours to then go over the top. And it completely changed it. Do you remember doing the old Tamiya shells, and you'd put a coat of white on the back after you'd done your colours?
I'd say the first one I painted on the outside by mistake, not realising that's how polycarbonate works.
So it was amazing when I found that out.
So there's primers, high build, and not etch primers. There's high build primers, but they're not essentially a high build primer like we think of them as being 200-300 microns, where you're actually... That's a filler primer. You're saying this is a sealer primer, which comes in 6 tint options flat out the can. So you different shades of white, almost down to black. And then sometimes they tell you on the scheme to add a colour tint to that to actually tint that colour again. I can tell you now, I've been around body shops. My stepfather was a painter, my real father was a painter, and they've had big accident repair centres. No one bothers. Nobody bothers. And when I've spoken to paint manufacturers on this many subjects, they're always like, look to me odd. I went, you're not normal. Why do you care? Blend it. In other words, paint right down the car all the time. And I'm like, I've got customers that want originality and do not want those parts of the car that have never been painted touched. And it's just, why are you being a pain? And I'm like, well, what? No, you can do it right, yes. And then it was no one wants to pay. No one earns enough money. And
as far as they're concerned, it's right for 99% of people. So for that 1%, it's the Ford seatbelt recall.
And we're back to the horrible commercially acceptable phrase used by body repair centres.
Yeah.
With intolerance.
So if I can start this series up with paint tech and just go on and on, I think it might make people really understand and appreciate and sometimes sympathise with things we might see on a car, which could just be colour match or a strange fade and blend, and sometimes you have to accept that. And uneducated detailers will possibly go on a rampage, typing away on a sort of social media or a sort of a Facebook group saying, oh, look, they're rubbish, all these painters are rubbish.
No, what, a detailer on Facebook criticising somebody else?
So definitely never done that. So especially painters.
It's actually weird because what I'm trying to do is, we said earlier, I'm trying to be the common factor denominator here that's actually making painters and detailers understand each other.
The friend maker, yes.
And I have got contact at the moment with a paint manufacturer that hopefully very soon, I was meant to do it last year, but COVID, they want me to go to their lab for 2 days to see how they actually make the tints and really get scientific of they can make bespoke paint. And I was invited there last year because I used their paint.
Do you want a PA with a camera?
Well,
he's not pretty, but he's got a camera.
Let's see, because I said about vlogging and stuff like that, and they went, look, let's just come up and do that first. And they said it'll be a 2-day course, and it was like VIP, we don't need to pay, and this is normally what they would do for a big body shop franchise to sort of show their facility. So that is a great opportunity. I haven't scheduled when yet, but if we can get that involved as well, you never know what can happen in the future. You might actually have a paint manufacturer
who will let you get back to our emails. That's impressive.
Yeah, and help what they do in mine. So we're on halfway there, aren't we?
No, that's cool. That is cool. Okie dokie. Well, as you will probably know, issue 13 will be out at some point soonish. We're not going to be any more accurate than that at the moment, or precise, should we say. And it will have lots of lovely scrawlings and scratchings from Kelly, as well as the rest of us on lots of different detailing-related topics.
I was checked, because it's a 150-page magazine, so you're okay doing about 75 pages for this article, yeah? 75.
Well, when he said 3,000 to 5,000 words, I was like, damn.
We can blow up the font massively. You have no idea.
But honestly, the more words the better. I mean, we do we've got that promotion one I wrote.
But we delete half your words.
Yeah, I know.
Ian and I do post edits and remove half of it.
Yes,
That's why you have to write sort of 15 to 20,000.
Yeah,
we work on the averages.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, we will call it a day there. Just leaves me to say, Kelly, thank you very much for coming all the way up into Wiltshire.
It's a pleasure.
And good luck getting back, maybe.
So left at the train.
I am thinking I'm going to hit the M25 right on about 5:30 and probably sleep there tonight.
Well, you'll be going past. Well, yes. I mean,
because of traffic.
To be fair, on Wednesday, I left here at 5:30 in the morning, got back at 10:15 or so, and it was, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it. But you've got those McLaren Pirelli tyres,
Sticky
so I'm
tyres
sure you'll be fine.
in the traffic,
Yeah, you'll be good. That'll suit you. And you won't draw any attention at all with the big wheels and brakes that lovely on a van. Not jealous. Anyway, thank you very much, Kelly. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
And it's also goodbye from Erin.
Bye-bye.
And from James.
Bye-bye.